What goes into making a new bass model anyway? What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and today we're talking with one of my favorite bassists on the planet, Andrés Martín, a colleague, a friend, such an interesting musician, composer, bass performer. I've had him on the podcast multiple times, done many events with him. For the last several years, I've been working with Eastman Music Company on the bass side of things, and back in 2018, I approached Andrés with a crazy idea, which is, what would you do if you could just make any kind of bass you wanted to make? The idea intrigued him, and 3 years later, many prototypes later, we're finally launching this on the market. So check out the description below for more information on where you can actually see this bass in person. And I bring you here a conversation between myself and Andrés about how this bass came into the world. You're gonna see some shots of the first prototype and the whole process and hear him playing that first prototype, and now what we are bringing out to market, these two different models of bass. Again, check the description for more information, and let's dig into this conversation with Andrés Martín. Talk about the story of that bass. And I just remember the idea coming up, and what's the journey been like so far?
Well, it is incredible. Actually, I did a post a week ago, and I made a mistake because I wrote something like after 2 years, it finally came up, and it's 3 years already. Well, I remember your message. It took me out of the shades, and I felt so lucky to have this chance. It was kind of unbelievable, and suddenly after your message, I get a message from Ping, and this was I remember this was most likely it was March 2018, and I remember I drove up to Pomona to meet her, and it was very incredible. First of all, it was very incredible seeing Ruben, because I already liked him very much, and during all the conventions, in every convention I always will go to the Eastman booth and try the basses. And I was always surprised because I got this silly idea that everything that comes out from China was bad quality. And the Eastman basses always were surprising me. And the other thing is that I kept feeling that they were improving. Like every convention, I will try them out and they will be and feel better. And I also liked Ruben. So it was kind of crazy finding out he was working there and that I already had a friend inside. So I instantly got a huge smile on my face the first time I walked in. And then I remember laying down in the floor with Ping drawing. And I remember I took a picture of that drawing, and I actually found it a few weeks ago. And I couldn't believe the thing that I was kind of drawing a bass, because I always, I've commissioned basses before, and it's always like, okay, you tell the builder what you want, but they do whatever they want. Actually, they are the ones who make you the proposition. And this time she told me, we'll do whatever you want. And I was like, what? And at the very beginning, it was kind of like a Frankenstein, because I wanted to pick up good things that I liked from different bases, all in one. And I remember this feeling I keep having, that I would need several bases to do what I like, and that I need for what I do and my playing, I need something that is comfortable, that is small enough, that has enough neck projection forward, so I can be fast and aggressive. But I also like the deep sound of the bass. And I was feeling like there were not something like that in the market. So I was very honored and also very excited about being a part of something that was different. And I also remember thinking that I was trying to aim to a kind of person, a kind of musician who don't want to be someone else. And I mean, I know and I truly believe we are all unique, but as a part of a bass section, what you want to blend in. You don't want to stand out from the rest. And that's a very big mindset. So you want to do things in a very unique way, but you have to blend in. You have to be a part of a mass, of something big, even bigger than you. When you step in front of an orchestra, in front of the recital hall, in front of a piano or a chamber setting, you don't want to blend in. And the crazy thing is that usually most basses will do the opposite. And we have to fight with the nature of the instrument because the instrument wants to blend in. So we use solo tuning. Sometimes we use different bows. We use a different setup. And the basses I found during all these years that will give you that standing out in the mix, or that shiny bright solo. But this is very it's like a metaphor, but those instruments were very weak when going down to the low register. And I know I am a very aggressive player. I can be subtle, but not so much. And then I already grew to accept that's a part of my personality. But I really want the low end of the bass. So having this chance to do an experiment, what we do is that I propose the idea to do something that has a bit of both worlds. And that it's very, very comfortable because I love big basses, but I don't love playing on them. It's like I love the sound, but I also love my body. And after all these years, I also had to accept I'm not a giant German player. I'm just a middle-sized man with limited strength. Um, and if I want to keep playing for a long time in my life, I'll have to have a middle-sized instrument. So anyway, I remember doing these drawings and taking measures out from basses I love, and the first prototype was born. And I remember when I unboxed at the convention, and it was kind of a strange. It looked like a collage of different instruments. But there was two things that stood out from me of that model. One is that I was very aware that the materials used were not the very best. The materials were very, for a student base, because we couldn't afford trying out with the best. And the shape was very odd, was very strange. But when I started playing on it, it was crazy. I was instantly smiling. And I remember I was the very first to play that bass after it was boxed in. Um, and the funny thing it was that it was I had to play like 15 minutes after unboxing the bass.
I remember that moment because we're at the International Society of Bassists Convention and the bass comes out and you were on a recital that night. If I remember this
Yes.
correctly, you were playing on Aaron on like
Yeah,
the keynote, like the opening recital,
exactly.
and you did not have to play this prototype, right? But you did. But then I remember thinking, like, I wonder what he's going to do. And you come out with this bass that you've just unboxed, that you've designed, and I remember that moment quite clearly.
Yeah, I mean, I was the first thing is that I was shocked how comfortable it was.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, be happy and feel that it's easy to play, it's already a big win over. Because if you play a great, fantastic sounding instrument, but you are not comfortable, I mean, half of the things you can do, you won't be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So here, I instantly, when I tried the bass, and actually I put some solo strings on it, I would borrow it, and I felt it was crazy comfortable and it was crazy loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I went out to play with Aaron with his French bass, an old, beautiful, very expensive bass, and I felt great.
Mm-hmm.
I felt amazing next to him. And he has a big and beautiful sound. And I didn't feel like I was any less. I didn't feel I was in disadvantage. Um, I had a great time with him on stage, which was not a surprise because I love playing with him, and he inspires me to play better than I usually do. Uh, but I was crazy happy with that bass. So I couldn't stop playing it for the rest of the week, and I brought it home, and I remember my friends and some former students came by the house, and the bass started to open up even during the convention, and it was amazing, and everyone wanted to buy it from me, and I was like, no, 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 this is mine. This is my first prototype. Um, so anyway, I the only thing is that I started falling in love with that odd shape, but I was very aware that it was an odd shape, and so for the modifications, for the second prototype, I wanted to make it a more beautiful and more organic in the shape, more rounded, and I think I just can't stop looking at it. I mean, I remember I sent a 20-page evaluation of the first prototype. I took almost 2 weeks writing it on every single detail that could be a little bit better, every single detail that were working fantastic. And the problem was that we got the pandemic in the middle, so a little bit of issues. But that, I think that was what delayed us on releasing this. But the second prototype came in, and it was even better. I was a little bit afraid that the shape changes were going to affect the quality or the power of the instrument, and I was crazy happy discovering that everything that was good about it were still there, but there was a little bit more. There was a little bit of punch, and I don't know. I felt with that second prototype, I felt there was a lot of more quality in the sound. I don't know how to describe it, but it didn't, because the first one sounded very loud. It sounded very easy, like open. but there was an element of the sound that was missing that I wouldn't know how to describe it. But it's like when you play an instrument and you say this is a quality sound, like an expensive sound. And this one, I was starting to feel it, and I remember that I forgot at the moment that the materials being used for this second prototype were again not the very top materials. And when trying out next to other bases on the same price range, the difference was huge. And I remember telling my father that the very same day I got it, after I was crazy excited. And I was telling him, look, I know this is a student type of instrument, but I could do my job with it. I could record, I could play, I could tour with it. I don't feel limited at all. And I'm very excited to see how it turns out on the higher end option. And then the second prototype was in 2020 in the NAMM show that I got it. And I remember that I came back here and I recorded 2 albums. Because during that time, I couldn't leave my house like most people in the world. And I started recording, and I felt pretty much satisfied with that bass. And I could do everything. And then people started asking me what bass I was using. Classical questions like, what type of rosin do you use? What bow maker you use? It's like, well, it's the same thing I've been using for the last 20 years. The only change is the bass, and then more recently, when I finally got this beauty I'm in love with, which is the Exist 608 model, I don't know, it's incredible. It has everything I was wanting for. And as I was telling you before, I feel like it's easier to play on it. And that it's kind of I don't know how to say it, but it's like, I'm going to do an analogy that perhaps it's not going to help much bass players, but it's like when you play electric and then you have a 30-watt amp or 50-watt amp, and you use it, I don't know, in 5, and it's okay. But then you have a 200-watt amp and you use it on 1, but it sounds better.
Yeah.
It feels like everything is easier, the sound goes, and that's what I feel with this. It's like I can relax and focus on the music because it's easier to play than anything I had before. So I don't know. To me, it's kind of incredible because at some point it was an experiment. It was something that I at least me, I never saw before. I tried many instruments, and many of them are fantastic, and I would love to have them, own them. But at some point, this feels like exactly what I needed. Nothing more, nothing less. And I can't believe it's being mass produced.
It's been fun to just be on this journey sort of vicariously with you and see you, because I think, I saw you pick up that first prototype. I saw you at the NAMM show, which is, not the ideal place to demo a bass. I remember we were playing this duet that you'd written for this course, and I could see the bow moving, and that's about it. But then you just don't know when you're working, because when you're working with this sort of process like you're describing, you have a limited amount of these select tone woods. So when you're experimenting, just for folks listening, when you're experimenting, you don't want to use the premium stock because it's just very limited. So, but then there's that question. It's like, well, especially when we're playing around with shapes, it's like, well, does this work? Because so much, there's so many factors that go into a quality instrument, and the big experiment here is like tone, what tone are you going to get with this shape and the playability? I mean, there were so many factors, and so it's just great that it's turned out like it has. And I just saw you a couple months ago when you picked up that, and I heard the first few notes from you on the one that you have now. So it's just it's great to see the progression over
and
years.
Yeah, and I have the stock setup. I haven't had any chance because of the limitation and the border and all the things that are happening right now. I don't have an access to a great luthier, so I still have the option to get a setup exactly under my request and try with a carbon fiber sound post and try to make all those small adjustments we are very used to do to customize our basses and our feeling, and that makes a very. I mean, I've never even spent time looking for the right spot for the sound post I have. So this is kind of what it came from, and it's still very good. And I remember many years ago, I went to visit Jeff Bradletich to his university, and I did a recital in UNT, and I remember I borrowed his bass, and until then I was still playing in my old Italian bass, and I remember that when I got his bass, I felt like, well, it doesn't sound much better than mine, but everything feels easier.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had this bass with me, I could play better because I'll save energy of trying to do things when I can actually do them without too much effort, because the instrument is making things easier for me. And that's exactly the feeling I have now. So it's like I don't have to play against the instrument. It helps me.
Well, if you're getting that feeling now without the dialed in setup, and you know how crucial setup is. I mean, it makes everything that it's only going up from here. And that's I have this large 7/8 jack stat. It's got narrow shoulders. It's not the hardest thing to get around, but it's big enough that, like, boy, does size make a difference. When I'm spending time in the upper register, and you spend way more time up there than me, I mean, I can feel it in my body. I can feel the fatigue. So getting that shape that works for your playing needs, it's just enormous, particularly when you're all over the bass like you are in the music that you write.
It really makes a difference, especially if you like to practice. And especially after your 30s, you're starting to feel all those years of abuse of your body, and the bass is not the friendliest instrument for most of us. I mean, in any regard, if you have a soloist mindset, and it's a big part of what you do, I think having the proper instrument will help a lot, and will make a difference. And I'm crazy happy with this bass.
Well, I'm happy that you were down for the grand experiment. I was already a fan of Eastman, but I became even more of a fan through this whole process, just to see, because this was the first really big bass experiment they'd done since starting to make basses, and it was just so cool to see. And they're just, like I said before, there's so many moving parts when you're working with an international company, and then the prototype phase, and then that report, and then does that report matter? And it obviously did, because all these changes were happening. And you look at the two photos, like, I thought the first bass looked pretty cool, but when you look at that to what you're playing on now, you do see just that sort of, it's just sort of like codified into a more kind of organic sort of look, and it's a complex process.
Yeah, and I have to say two things about it. First one is that I really believe in inspiration of the beauty of the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be something that when you look at it, you want to pick it up and play.
Mm-hmm.
that makes a difference. It doesn't sound, but it makes a big difference. It's like when you have a car that you are very in love with and it's beautiful, and you see it and you want to drive it. And even when you are inside of the car, you cannot see the outside. You know what you're driving. So that's why I wanted to get the most possibly beautiful shape out of the instrument. And the other thing that I need to mention is that one of the things that were most appreciated by me is that the fact that I saw, I experienced how much the Eastman people listen and look for quality. I had this idea before that mass builders were more focused in profit and in making lots of instruments, and since the very first moment I stepped in, I saw how interested they are in doing the very best every single time. And they could go with anyone. They could copy anything out of the blind, like many people do. But no, they went to Lisa Gas to design the extension. They wanted something that was very, very good, not just copying blindside. At the very beginning, I presented many, many ideas, and they could tell me, oh, let's go and copy that and copy this. But no, they wanted something good. They wanted something original. And every single time I had a comment, and when I still have, I feel like I'm hurt. And it's a close attention to the detail and genuine interest in making things well. And that is the kind of people I like to work with. People who's passionate over detail and passionate about doing good things, not just, doing things average or the fastest or easiest or cheapest way. That's how we make many decisions about the varnish and about the accessories. And it's all those small details that makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's been my feelings too. Working with Eastman, so it's fun. It's fun to, someone a friend and someone I respect and admire, and just to have you get involved and have this project just sort of blossom, and it's just really cool. I was logging on the website today, looking at the base page, and there you are. And we're going to have new photos with the new base. Now that this is coming out, and it's really cool to see this come through it. I can't believe it. We started talking on the phone. I remember sitting in Starbucks. I guess it was probably February, March 2018, and talking about an idea, and then just watching it go through the various stages.
Yeah.
And now here you are with the instrument. And as we get out of this pandemic and get back to playing concerts and moving around, I just can't wait to see you out there with this bass, and also that it's commercially available now, that people can pick it up.
Exactly.
International company, wherever you're listening to this, you can get this bass, and it's just really exciting to see something new come into the world from an artist like you with a strong vision, and I think it's super cool.
Yeah. It's to me, it's a big relief and big excitement to think that someone who gets this instrument anywhere in the world will know that this is a bass that was thought by someone who actually loves to have it in their hands, and who doesn't like limits, and that is something that was not made overnight. There's 3 years of development and very hard work behind of it. And if we find something that has to be changed or improved, we will. I know that. So to me, it's a big relief, because I can easily and proudly recommend this to anyone, and it's also very fair priced. And because that's the other thing, we could come out with something crazy expensive. And the idea was to have something that is very fairly priced, because I have this experience in many parts of the world where money is an issue, and I don't think it's fair for many people to not be able to afford a good instrument. So I'm also very happy that this is a great option. And as I told you before, even the low end model, it's crazy good. And although it's priced like most student bases, I could do my job. I could do the world. I'll be happy if I have to go anywhere and do a recital, a masterclass, and have that bass in my hands. Mm-hmm. I'll be relieved. So that's incredible.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's great to have those two options: the professional model, and then the students kind of step up model, which is still a great instrument. It's still got carved woods, and it still sounds great. But it's cool to see this out there in the world.
Exactly. I'm crazy happy about it. I still look back, and it's like, I can't believe I just remember the piece of paper with the drawings. It's like, I can't believe it's here already after so much wait.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. From lying on the ground and doing drawings to like actually then the crossing the ocean multiple times and working in the number of people involved in like getting something to actually be in the world like it is now. It's pretty cool. And I love the bass. I can't wait to hear you on it more, and see you in person on it, and see people as they start to pick it up. And it's great to hear that the word's already been getting out even before we've launched it officially, and now it's official. And I'll make sure to link up to everything, but certainly to the bass so folks can check it out. Anything else we want to say about this? It's pretty exciting.
Well, no, but I'm gonna be very happy to answer any questions if people wants to reach out to me and want even more pictures or small details. I'm crazy in love with this instrument, and I think I'm gonna be astonished when I start seeing other people playing on it and making all the styles of music, all the things with it.
That's a look behind the scenes at making a new bass model. I'm so happy that Andrés is on board with this project. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.